Hello, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to animate a jump. So the first thing you want to do is get on animate and make an HD document. This means that it's 1280 by 720 pixels in ActionScript 3.0. Okay, so now that you're in your document, you can see that on the bottom there's a timeline. Now on this timeline we're going to call the first layer background. Like other Adobe software, there's a layer system involved with animation. So if you click this button here, this will make a new layer. And a layer is where information is put. So if there's a layer above another layer, that means whatever is on that layer is above the other things. So we'll make another layer and call this one stickman, since this is a stickman jump. Assuming you have no knowledge of animate, if you press F7, it will make a keyframe. And a keyframe is when an animation changes, when a different frame happens. So, for example, a different movement or position. Because animation is essentially a bunch of photos put together to make a motion. So every keyframe is a motion. If you press F5, that's a regular frame, which just extends a keyframe. So we're going to be animating this in twos, which means we make one keyframe and a regular frame and then alternate. So we write less. It will be less smooth, but it will be done quicker and more efficiently. So now we're going to go on the background layer and click the first keyframe and go to the brush tool, which you can just use B to shortcut to. And we're just going to draw a simple platform for our character to stand on. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to go to the stickman layer and draw a simple stickman. If you go to the right side of the screen, you can change the brush size if you think the brush is too small. Okay, so here is our drawn stickman. Now, so we don't interfere with the background layer, we can go down to the background layer and click the lock icon, and that will mean essentially no matter what we do, we can't change the background layer, which can be quite annoying if that's in the way. So now we're just gonna go to the background layer and press F5 a lot, and this will essentially make the background layer a lot longer. So instead of just one frame, the background layer will last for a long time. So now with this first frame, we can press F5 to make to extend it to twos, and we can press F7 to create a new blank keyframe. And so on this keyframe, we're gonna redraw the stickman, but it may seem confusing because there's nothing that appears there. So how are you supposed to know where the stickman was? But if you go down to onion skin, this will show you where it was the last frame. So now you can, based on that, make the motion. So we're going to be animating in a style called pose to pose. And this means rather than drawing each individual frame, which can have problems like overshooting or undershooting the jump, if you do pose to pose, you make 4 poses to get the general motion down. And then you put in between frames to smooth it out. So we're just going to make 1 frame for jumping. So now we're going to animate the second position. And this will be sort of a mid-air position. Okay, so as you can see, I have an animation of a man jumping. It's not very smooth, but you can see that there is some form of a jump there. So what we can do with that now is we have our poses, so we know what we're going to do. So now we go in between the poses and we make it more smooth by adding in between frames. So a transition frame, for example, between the man standing still and the man starting to jump. So we can add a frame right here and then go in between. As you can see, I only added 1 frame, yet it's still looking even smoother. So if I just add a few more frames, this will start to look like a very smooth jump. If your background's starting to disappear in the middle of your animation, That could be because your background frames are starting to run out. So there's no more background frames here. So if you just add more, that means the background will stay throughout the rest of the animation. Okay, so after adding each in-between frame, I could have added more, but I just did a few for this example to prove it. You will have essentially a fully smooth animation like this. Now it could have been better, I'm not the best at drawing myself and I'm still learning animation, but this is just the basics for you to put in your creativity and make something great out of this jump. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new.